Welcome to the EMN podcast, where philosophy meets disaster and uncomfortable truths meet the profession we call emergency management. This is not safe space thinking. This is the arena. Let's begin. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are at in this fine world. And I'm Todd DeVoe.
And I'm Dan Scott.
Good morning, Dan, you are not here with us last week because you were having a good time, weren't you?
Oh, well, I guess you can call it that. It was, I was put down for a little bit with the emergency surgery to get my gallbladder removed, which,
sounds like a good time.
Yeah. It was just kind of came out of nowhere, but then to find out that it's also been a chronic issue. That's what they told me. A lot of underlying things that were there. So, I've been down in recovery for the last week. I'm back up and moving around. I'm moving slow, but I'm moving.
Good.
So I can't. I'm happy about that. At least, I'm still on this side of the ground.
Well,
but it was something else. So thank you for taking care of me with getting Brian in here. And Brian, thanks for covering for me last week. I appreciate it.
I'm glad that you're feeling better. Don't do that again. Emergency surgeries, they're not good. And so,
yeah, they knew it was something when I went in, because I usually normally wouldn't have gone in. So it was bad enough for me to say I need to go to the emergency room.
You look great in your dress, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was rocking that pretty hard. I thought I rocked it well.
But we're not here to talk about emergency surgeries or the little gown that they give you at the hospital. We're here to talk about federalism and emergency management, and especially with all the conversations that's going on. Right now, with the federal government closed, but with the conversations with what's the role of FEMA in emergency management, where it's going to be going. I started thinking about this. And I was going through my PhD program. I was going through federalism and where it really lays down and what it is. And I thought this was really kind of took it through the lens of emergency management. And even though it wasn't really designed this way in the concept, I started thinking of the picket fence concept in federalism. And I thought, man, this, again, I'm kind of molding it a little bit. And even though it doesn't really fit the way the concept of picket fences is, I was like, man, it really kind of fits, right? So you have the federal government, state government, and local government, and having that be the way of this. And so I'm really kind of stretching a little bit. And the foundation of emergency management, what it means in practice. What do you think as far as federalism and how it plays in emergency management, and what are your takeaways? Because disasters are local until they're not.
Yeah, I mean, this is an ongoing discussion. It's not really an argument. Well, okay, depending on who you talk to, it could be an argument. But overall, the discussions of where it should be utilized, because they're supposed to start and end local, but it doesn't mean that you can't get aid and assistance, and it should be there to some extent when a jurisdiction or local area is no longer able to just respond accordingly based off of how large an event may be. Or, I mean, it could be multiple jurisdictions. That's when you really start looking at getting that federal help with everything that's happening right now with that. And when you think about that too, with if you think about, okay, the government shut down, the federal government shut down. Well, that has over the last how many times has that happened? Right. And you got to think of if something happened right now, how would that affect us? Like, how's that going to really play out? And with the new restructuring of what they say they want to restructure, how it's going to be restructured, who knows how that's going to end up in the long run. But I think there has to be some level of federal aid at some level. But do I feel like it should be more responsibilities of states and local jurisdictions? I do. I think that there's got to be more responsibility, that you can't just rely on the federal government to come to help.
Well,
I mean,
that's where I have to kind of stop that conversation a little bit, because it is right now local. I mean,
is it?
when we really think about this, we look at the federal government, and this is, I think that there's a public perception of what FEMA does, right? And then there's the actuality of what FEMA does, right? And you and I know that when we're asking for federal help, we're not asking for the white knight on the helicopter
Well,
coming in.
let's think about that though. Think about whose eyes are we looking at that through? Are we looking at it through an emergency manager's eyes? Or are we looking at it through a civilian's eyes? The everyday individual that just lives their life in their neighborhood. You got to think about that, because when it comes down to it, if you're thinking about it as emergency managers have, obviously they have their own purview. They understand a little bit more. They have a bigger understanding of what's happening inside of the system. But when you're looking at the everyday individual, or someone who's been affected by a disaster, or at some level, they're not thinking of it like that. They may not even understand it at the local level. They see what they see on the news, which is federal, and how that's funded by FEMA. So they see FEMA, or we see the Red Cross, and they don't understand that as in a local setting. They understand it in a larger setting. They see what they see when the large thing happens. And I think that's where a lot of these restructures, and where an emergency manager needs to step up a little more and say, this is what we're doing locally. This is how we help you locally. These are the systems and resources that are available to you locally, and bring it more local versus how wide it is right now, because it's what they see on social media and the news and all these other things. It's the federal government. And I think we have to look at it when we're doing it as an emergency manager. What eyes are we looking at it through? Are we looking at it as a civilian? Are we looking at it as a citizen? Are we looking at it as an emergency manager? Are we looking at a first responder? It's
And
perspective, right?
that goes back to some of the stuff that you and I both say all the time, right? As the local emergency manager, to get out from behind your keyboard and go out and build relationships with the community.
Yep.
Right, because
Yep,
if they don't know
100%.
you're there, then the only thing they do know is what they see on TV. The only thing they do know
100%.
is FEMA. Because I hate the fact that when we go, I mean, I do it myself. When we go out to the community and they go, "Oh, what is the Office of Emergency Management?" Well,
Yep.
we have to
That's
go
the
back to the
question
phone.
that
We
we
have to
get
go,
asked
"Well,
a
let's
hundred
learn about
times.
local."
Yeah. Exactly. We get asked that question so many times. And it's like, how many times should you have to answer that question? You should be doing a job in such a way that it's answering the question on a regular basis, so they know what you do. They know who you are. They know where they can go find you and what resources are available to them. If they don't have those resources available to them, they don't know where to look. They just look online. What do they see online? They see the big picture. They see the federal government, or they see the issues that people are having. They don't see what's happening right there in their own backyard, or who the resources that are available to them in their own backyard. So, yeah, we should be out there. We should be offering them information. That's when it comes back to uh, the level of activity that we have, engagement that we have, and I don't feel like we're as active as a profession as we should be, as a professional as we should be when it comes to locality.
I think one of the mistakes we make too is that when we look at these the flyers and the documents that we give, when we excuse me, excuse me, the handouts that we give, instead we're lazy, and instead of going out and having them remade and with our logos on, we just download the FEMA document, the FEMA giveaways, the ready.gov,
Yeah,
and we hand those out. They have the FEMA logos on it, and of course, the only thing that the citizens see is FEMA. They don't see us because we don't rebrand
yeah.
our stuff. And let me try
And they
to
don't say. I
let
want to
me
say
try to
too that.
take my microphone off without leaving the screen again.
Okay. I told it. Yeah, yeah. Well, that was pleasant for all those who are listening right now. But anyways, I 100% agree with you, and I think it is laziness when you don't take the time to put your logo on these resources. These resources are available to disperse from FEMA, from your state organizations, but you have to put your information on there because it's local to you. They need to know how to get a hold of you, not how to get a hold of ready.gov or Cal OES or Texas or TDM or whatever the state organization may be. They have to be able to get a hold of you. You're in their jurisdiction. They're your responsibility. So if you
And
can't
they
take the
encourage you to
time
do
to
that,
put
by the way.
your information, they
Right.
do. It's public domain, number one. But number two, they put these resources together, they design them, and they tell you to make it your own. So
Right.
if you're not doing that and you're just putting out a FEMA document or a state document, or even some of these other document, private organizations like Listos and Red Cross and United, some of these other ones that are out there that are putting these things out there, these training resources and develop list of resources that are available. If you're not taking the time to make that local, you're doing a disservice to your jurisdiction, because the people that you're giving them to, they need to be able to get a hold of you, not just go do the research at ready.gov. They should be able to interact with you as an individual that's doing the job and who's going to be providing these resources when the stuff happens to them. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%.
So that's how as a local authority we can shift that attention from the federal government or even the state government down to us as a local government. And as we're defining that picket fence of federalism, um, why should emergency management um, be more functional? Let's talk about the policy side of it. Why should we be more functional at the local level? And this is one of the arguments that you I made many years, that when we've seen budget cuts, they make it easy to cut the emergency management position. I say they make it easy. The local government cuts emergency. Why does my thing do that all the time? Makes local government easy to um, cut
It's because you have
EM positions. Or they make a collateral duty. They make it a secondary position. And why should policymakers make it a priority to have emergency management as a standalone position, or at least a critical position
well,
within?
I think the question you're asking is right, but the format is wrong. It's not policymakers. It's why should emergency managers be involved in policy
Sure.
that designates them as decision makers. That's the issue. That's the thing, and the ongoing recurring problem is that most emergency managers, and I say most, but I don't know the number. I don't know what it could be, a minimal number, but what I see is they're not taking an active role in public policy or their own uh, well-being as a office or a department or an organization, to say this is why we exist, this is who we are, this is why it's important, this is why we should have these policies, these regulations, these designations, why we should be involved in the decision making process. They're usually, as you said, other duties as assigned. Well, that means other duties as assigned, meaning that they're not in a position, or they feel they're not in a position to uh, be the expert in the area or to be the voice of reason for emergency management. And it could be because there's so many different reasons that we're at disadvantage when it comes to what emergency management is. But a lot of it could be, yeah, they don't have a voice, but a lot of this too is they might not understand what they're doing. They don't know what it is. They don't know enough of what they're supposed to be doing to be that voice. So they don't. So nothing gets done, nothing gets said, and it continues going on the way it is. It continues to go on to other duties assigned or
Mhm.
a position in rotation within a police department or a fire department, and so no one's actually ever really doing the job because they're rotating out so often. I saw that when I was working in Fresno, California. I think it's despicable. You put somebody in a position for 2 years as a rotating captain, and by the time they get the job under control and actually understand it, they rotate out.
Right.
So it's like, what the heck? You're never going to have any consistency or any development, any growth. So, and there's a lot of departments like that throughout the country that's how they do it. It's other duties as assigned, so we're going to put you on this rotation instead of just having somebody do it or hire somebody in to do it. So we're at a disadvantage in a lot of different ways, and it's our job to be that voice, especially the ones that are doing like we're doing right now. We're talking about it. We're putting the word out there. We're giving people resources to look at. We're also giving them arguments to make and people to quote. We're actually doing, according to Daniel Scott and Todd DeVoe, CEMs work at this level and have been doing it for this long. This is what they're saying. I think we should look at it. We're giving them that, and we need more people doing that, and more people to understand that, especially when they're working at the local levels, because a lot of the local levels, as we know, they're underfunded or they're understaffed, they're under resourced, and how do we fix that? And that's the big problem.
The jurisdiction
Um,
where I work, has just been, which is I'm excited about this. So we are now a division, or no, a department. We were a division. We're a
Yeah,
department,
you're
and
telling me. Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
my boss is now equal to the police chief, so the same authority. So
That's the way it should be.
yeah,
It's a 100% the way it should be.
absolutely.
And I'll go even further too. And I mean, I think people get mad at me for this one, but if it's going to come down to it, I think it should be emergency manager, police chief, fire chief, EMS. Why? Why do I feel that way, Todd?
Well,
Because we
because
work with all of them and we
right,
coordinate with all of them,
coordinate
and
with all
we
of them.
and
Well,
that's
there's
just it.
the city of Santa Fe Springs, California. They oversee there's a because they have a fire and they have contract police over there. They contract with the Whittier Police Department, and there's a public safety manager, I think they call him, public safety director.
Public safety, yeah.
Yeah, that role oversees the fire police, and so it's like an assistant city manager, I think, kind of level. Oversees those two positions, and I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was the guy who I knew that would work there is no longer there; he's retired, but that position's there, and I thought that was always an interesting role. I don't know if it's still that way. I'm pretty sure it is, but that was the way it was for many years. Kind of going over back to that idea here is, what role do you think? You and I are both members of the International Association of Emergency Managers. As most of you guys know, that I'm on the board. What role do professional associations play in professionalizing and making that and the federalism, keeping that lens of in the Federalist picket fence, if you will?
Well, it depends on. I mean, it depends on the organization, But overall, what they should be doing is bringing these resources to the emergency managers to give the emergency managers the resources they need to then turn around and go do their job better, and have the resources and the backing to then perform at a level that would make them more credible in what it is that they do. And yeah, it depends on the organization. I mean, there are a lot of great organizations out there. We do belong to IAM. I also belong to NEMA and a couple others. Depending on where you are, they might have state, they might have jurisdictional, state, federal, international. I mean, there's a lot of them, but ultimately, what the role they play, or what the role they should be playing, is giving and providing them credibility and resources to do their job better, and training opportunities and regulations and policy advocation, which we
Yeah,
see a lot of. Right now, it's especially with everything happening with FEMA and the uncertainty of things, and everything being all over. There's a lot of advocacy going for emergency management. We saw for the first time, the Emergency Management Awareness Month, followed by Preparedness Month, which has been there for a long time. So, and I'm sure that's going to continue to grow and be. If at least we have anything to say about it,
right.
it's going to be there, be more in the public eye. But I think that the at that level, they get to work with and influence the amount of information that goes both ways. And especially if they're doing, like, especially with IAM, you see what we see doing is advocating for better policy, better involvement, better understanding of what it is emergency management does, and that's taken these organizations and associations and memberships that allow that to be done at some of them at a full-time level, but some of them on volunteer level. So I think that's a big part of it. But usually it's about dispersal of information. Being able to take that
Yeah,
information both ways.
I think that's the important part of it, is that it's not politics. I think it's advocate the advocate
Shouldn't be.
for
Yeah.
policy positions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be about politics. It should be about the people. And I think, especially with emergency management, that's a big part of it. And with IAM specifically, that's what I've seen. But there's other organizations, like NEMA as well, National Emergency Management Association. They do that as well. So there are those, and it's not political. It's about the profession that serves a professional that then turned around and serves the jurisdiction. So, yeah, 100% agree.
I think the other thing too is that the role of emergency management, specifically in the picket fence idea here is stewardship, not
Oh yeah.
hierarchy,
No, I
right?
like that. I
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
stewardship. And so and the other side of it too is the reason why I like the picket fence visual, the model of it, is it's not hierarchy, right? It's not stacked up. It's together, right? We're all lined up. And then there's the runners that hold us together. And that's where stewardship comes into play, right? Is that
I
we
like that. I like that. I like that. It's a great concept, great thought about stewardship. Um,
Mhm.
it's not about power,
Right.
when it comes to what we do, especially emergency management. It's not. It truly is not about power. Um, we should have some authority. We should have some decision making um, privileges, but it's not about power. It's not for me to be able to tell people what to do. It's not for me to have a status that says I am elevated here, so you have to listen to me. It's about that stewardship. I love that the word specifically is because it is about influence, and you can influence people a lot better with stewardship than you can with authority.
Right.
So I like that the way you put that. So I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, that's the thing too is like when we're looking at one of the things I'm working on hard right now, especially in my jurisdiction, is that I want to empower, truly empower. Um, and it sounds funny because I don't think we ever had the power to first of all to empower people, but the community down to the individual,
I
right?
think I want to say something real quick because I like the way you said that. Because I don't think you ever, but really do. You have you have the status there, the viewpoint to be able to empower someone else. Whether you think so or not, they may think so.
Right,
And sometimes that they may need that permission. They may
right,
need
right, right.
that empowerment. So no, I want to say that I'll let you turn it back right over to you, but I think it's not about us, being, oh, I empower you to do this. But sometimes it does take someone at a certain level to say, you have the way you can do this. I am empowering you to do this.
Yeah,
For somebody to actually do take action, and but especially depending on what level you work. I mean, that may be the case. Whether you feel that you have the authority to empower anybody, sometimes they may be waiting for you to empower them.
right. That's
Right?
that's
They may
probably
be
my
waiting
biggest.
for you to basically give them permission. And sometimes that matters in the mindset and how we think. And as we
That is funny. It's always cracks me up. Like I'm meeting with some church groups, right? When I want to say my organization, we're meeting with church groups, and I was working with one of the pastors, and he's just like, yeah, do we have permission to do this? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, what's stopping you? I can't tell you not to go out and buy disaster preparedness food and gear for your congregation. Like what? How can I stop you from doing that? But yeah, I give you permission to go out and do that, and
that,
that's all you
and
needed.
that's a big deal, man. That it
Yeah.
really is a big deal. I mean, when we think about this as philosophy, if we're thinking about this as philosophers,
Mhm.
and we think about it, the human as human behavior, sometimes they're waiting for that permission,
Yeah.
whether they need it or not. They are waiting for the permission or that empowerment,
Right.
and we have to give them that as emergency managers, as their jurisdictional. I mean, they're our responsibility.
Yes.
So we have to. Sometimes they are waiting for that, and you need to be putting yourself in positions in those meetings, in those trainings, in those interactions that you can say, yes, absolutely, you have permission. You have my say. Like, yeah, go for it, go forth and do well. You know what I mean? Like sometimes that needs to be said out loud so that they can say we were given permission.
Yeah.
They gave it to us, right? And sometimes they're waiting on that, and especially when it comes to response to an actual emergency or a disaster. Sometimes they're waiting on permission to act.
Right.
They may be waiting, like, especially you hear some people say, well, I didn't get the evacuation order, or I didn't feel like
Right.
I should have evacuated, or I didn't feel like I should have done this thing, or and then they wait for that confirmation as well. So they may be thinking, oh, I'm ready to go, boom, but they're waiting on confirmation that never came.
I just
Sometimes it just needs to be said, whether it needs to be said. It's not like you're saying, I now give you my permission and you have my, like here it is, like my say so's what you waited on. Sometimes they're waiting on it, whether you're going to give it or not. So sometimes you just need to give it.
I just watched the Lost Bus, and there's some stuff in there that was a little fabricated. I was from the true story, but they needed to do that for the Hollywood effect. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I
Um,
haven't seen it yet.
it's good. It's on Apple right now, Apple TV right now. If you have it, watch it. But one of the scenes in there, dispatcher's getting these phone calls, and the dispatcher said, "If you see smoke, leave. You don't need our permission to go." You
Yeah.
know, and I was like, "Yeah, that's a that was one of the problems they had."
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, they look to us, or they look to who they perceive to have more authority or information. It may not even be authority. Maybe they perceive us as having more information. We have more answers to their questions than they get, right? So they're looking to us to to tell them based on the information that we supposedly have, um, on what they need to do. And so, yeah, sometimes they need that. They need that confirmation to say, yeah, you're good to do this. You're good to go. You should evacuate. If you see this, do this. You don't go. You don't need to wait for permission. And sometimes that needs to be said. Don't wait, just go. Like if there's any hesitation at all, how do we get over that hesitation? How do we give them that motivation to make those decisions sometimes on their own without
Well,
us having to say do it?
and when you bring it back to the government, one of the dangers of having a a hierarchy, right? If you're thinking if we need to ask permission from the federal government or even from the state government to do action, is that you lose that flexibility of being able to act when needed. And so going back to the picket fence, the way we really do have it, right, of having local action and local control of the disaster, it gives the ability for us to the people on the ground understand the conditions under, and that's why we have it in emergency management, right? That the EOC does not control the field, right? We support the field, right? The field, the commander and the person in the field has the ability to do what they need to do to get the job done. There's not that control, and so the same way we have with local government does not report to the state government, is not superseded by the state government, and so the state government is not superseded by the federal government in control. It's funding sources that go back and forth and support sources that come back and forth. So that's why I think the picket fence model of federalism really fits in emergency management, even though that's not the intent of it. And I know that there's some professors out there that are probably pulling their hair right now going, Todd, that is not the intent. And what picket fence means, I understand that. Please understand, I completely understand what picket fence federalism is, but I think the model fits really well in emergency management.
Well,
And I think we
I
have,
think we could. I mean, we could honestly, we could probably talk for another hour on this, and go even further in some of these discussions. But I feel like too, we should understand that there are people that work at these levels who don't understand that. There are people who work at the federal level, the state level, the county, and city, who don't understand that there's no real line of like authority. They're there to support, not tell you what to do.
right.
So there's and I think there's that needs to be higher trained on.
So at the end of the day, federalism is not about dividing power, right? It's about distributing responsibility.
Yeah,
That's truly what it
responsibility.
is,
Yeah,
right?
I agree 100%. Yeah, it's all about the responsibility, but who's willing to take that responsibility and do the work? Yeah, I 100% agree.
And at the end of the day, and we're here close. We're getting close to the end of our time here, but I'm going to ask this one last question to you, and it's going to be, how do emergency managers serve as stewards of federalism, and how are we the living fence as federalism, and the picket fence?
Well, we're the ones that they see. That's the big thing. We're the ones that, I mean, when you see that fence, where there's a divide there, right? When you see a fence, we're the ones they see. We're the ones that have access to the information and access to the resources. So that's how we serve. But the way we can best do that is by understanding how those resources flow and how we access those resources, and then how we distribute those resources to the people that we're supposed to be serving. We're the stewards by they see us, we see them. So
Yeah.
it's like we're on the other side of the fence, right? We're the fence. We see what's on the other side, and we see what. If we're going to say that we're that fence, we're that fence because they see us as that fence. So that's where they stop. They look
All
at
right.
us and they come to us. That's where they stop. That's where they get their information. and then we are getting our resources and stuff from the open void that must be beyond that fence, right? So that open void is where's the, these big old empty fields sometimes. But where do we are the people that they see. So that's where it stops, and then we give them what they need based off of what's happening and what level. And we should be doing that every day. Every day we should be the person that they see.
Yes, absolutely.
Every day we should be the person that they get to engage with, and they get questions and answers for, and resources available and training. And so I think that's the best way to be as emergency managers, and the best way we can be stewards of our communities.
At the end of the day, federalism, I believe, works. It was always intended that, and we as local government, we're closer to the people than they do over from DC, and I think this is the way that things are set up. And as a guy from local government, today I have a community meeting this evening. I love going out to these. Sometimes you take barbs, sometimes you get arrows slung at you, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. Today's meeting is not going to be that way, but sometimes you do.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. It could go good intentions and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's true. But that's what we have. That's what we're here for.
But we got to be. We're willing for it. We signed up for that.
We just signed up for that.
Yeah.
But being at the local government, this is where true. I'm not saying that my partners at the federal government, state government, are true public servants, but this is where the true work is done. This is where we're in the trenches. We're there with the people. We're holding their hands during the crisis. We're there with the people. I love being at this level. I really do. I love being in the local level.
I enjoy it as well.
This is where it's at. So nothing wrong with being at the state or the federal level, but I like being down here. So to my friends and family that are out there still working at the state and federal level, love you guys too. Dan, let you roll. I'll let you end it out.
Well, I appreciate that. So, when it comes down to local jurisdiction and the level, I love it as well. Right now I'm at the city local jurisdiction, so I really enjoy it. When it comes down to it, though, I think every level has a part to play. Every level has a stewardship piece. Every level has a give and take and acknowledgments that need to be made. And so for those who are out there, the biggest thing is take the time to learn that and acknowledge it, and then work and coordinate within your systems to do so. And we can make it better every day, one day at a time.
Absolutely. And everybody, stay safe and stay hydrated.
When the sirens scream out loud, we're the voice that breaks the cloud. Heads out high when things go wrong, we'll guide you through with strength and song. Disaster strikes without a sound, chaos reigns but we're around.